to Menopause Dinners. My name is Sarah and I'm your host. Not only is it me, but I have some incredible guests with me today. You can expect real stories, laughter, a few tears, and some facts to help you feel not alone in this shitstorm called the menopause. So sit tight and let's ride the storm together. Welcome to Menopause Dinners. Welcome back, everyone, to part 2. Hope you're feeling good today. We are carrying on with the most incredible subject.
Nutrition in menopause and postmenopause.
So let's welcome our guest back again. Welcome back, Caroline.
Thank you, Sarah. So good to be here.
Thanks for coming back. Didn't scare you off, no?
No, not at all.
So if you listened to part 1, you know that we talked a lot about nutrition with Caroline, who's a wonderful nutritionist. And yeah, we talked about menopause, touched on a bit of postmenopause as well. But as you know, because Menopause Dinners is called Menopause Dinners, it's all about the food as well. And this time it is a bit of a twist because Caroline gave us the recipe. So Caroline, basically, I said, if you can come on and talk to us on one condition, you give us a recipe, we're going to make it. And as always, we're going to score it and tell you what we think. But yeah, that was really good. It was actually really nice.
I feel like
to come up with
lightly.
something.
You didn't ask me to cook it.
You did. So what is the title of your recipe, Caroline?
It is teriyaki salmon bowl.
Oh, okay. So would you like to tell us what is in the recipe? What are the ingredients?
It contains salmon, a homemade teriyaki sauce, which is really quick and easy, quinoa or quinoa, depending on how you pronounce it.
Yeah, how do you? I always say that one, quinoa. Just say it really quickly so that no one knows
I like
I've
how it
mucked it up.
sounds. Yeah, so quinoa, edamame beans, and avocado.
Okay. So before we tell you what we thought of it, can you tell people why you created that meal? What is so special about that meal?
So 2 perspectives on it. One from it's such a great, versatile, easy dish to make, and tastes great. You can swap out the salmon for a different protein source. You could swap out the grains. So you can use that recipe as a basis and then tweak it and still have a really good, healthy, balanced meal in front of you. From a nutrition perspective, it just delivers so much from a really small handful of ingredients. And that's what we want to be including in our diet, what are classed as like nutrient-dense foods. So you've got your salmon, which is a great protein source, but also an oily fish. So really heart healthy because it provides you with omega-3 fatty acids, and they'll also help with things like brain health and also skin health as well, and your joints. Your quinoa is fantastic because it is a whole grain carbohydrate, so will provide you with that energy source, but also it's a great source of protein as well. So it kind of crosses over those 2 areas. And it's a great source of fibre, so will help keep the gut nice and healthy and will help us to stay fuller for longer. And then the edamame beans are a great source of fibre. Again, will add bulk to that dish and help you feel fuller for longer. But also, edamame beans are essentially soybeans, so they're a great source of phytoestrogens, which can be helpful from a cholesterol lowering perspective, but also maybe helping from a hot flushes perspective as well. And then avocado, nice source of healthy fat, and then a teriyaki sauce. Because without that sauce, let's be honest, that dish will probably be quite boring and bland. So we just need to jazz it up, and it could be a teriyaki sauce. We could have swapped it out for a sweet chili sauce.
Oh,
And I think
yeah.
that's what's really great about this dish, is that you can run with that. You've got the recipe now for the proportions, but you can make some really quick, easy changes. So you could end up with 5 different meals, because you could make you could do buckwheat or wild rice with then chicken or tofu. You could swap out for a different type of fish. You could, instead of having edamame beans, you could have different types of bean, or you could do different salad components rather than avocado. So you can flex it to your own tastes and preferences, but ultimately the dish itself is going to be really healthy, and I think personally tastes amazing. But so I'm really interested to hear what you guys say.
See what everyone
I'm a
thought.
little bit nervous.
Okay,
but
no, don't be nervous at all. Actually, I will make you feel much better, because I did a meal once and it got a 0. So I mean, it can't get any worse than that. That was one person. I think I told you I made sardine fritters, and someone went, "Ugh, can't stand for sardines." Okay, so 3 of us made it. I'll tell you about 2 of the ladies first, and then I'll give you my overall experience, because my niece helped me, so that would be quite nice for me to mention her.
Yeah.
So first of all, a lady that's not coming, can't make it today, she made it. She thoroughly enjoyed it. She said she's not keen on avocado, so she didn't put that in. But she gave it. Now, let me see if I can do this, because last time it disappeared. Is it gone? She got an 8.
I can see an 8.
She gave you an 8. So,
I'll take that.
So that's really good. That's really good. Another lady liked it. She said she would have it again. She asked about bulgur wheat instead of quinoa. Would that be okay?
Absolutely fine. And you could also, if you wanted a quick win, use the grain pouches instead of cooking the quinoa or the buckwheat from scratch.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And she gave it, now I haven't got a thing for that, but she gave it an 8.5. So well done,
Oh,
you.
nice.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So I'll tell you my story, because I love salmon. I could eat salmon all day, every day. But I've never had dami beans. How do you say them?
Yeah, edamame, yeah.
Edamame. But my niece, she came in the supermarket, she loves those beans. So she kept nicking them off of me. But I love the meal. The sauces, I'm not a chili person, so I didn't kind of do the sauce a little bit on that. But I really liked it. And I'm not a great fan of quinoa, but that's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
But you know what? I would cook it, and I gave you, oh, it's gone. It's back. It's gone. It's gone. This is the thing where you got, there we are. I gave you an 8.
8, fabulous.
I gave you an 8. There we go.
That's pretty good going, given the fact that, there's maybe some components that wouldn't be your first preference. And that, like I say, that's what's so great about it, is that you can flex that to now how you would.
Exactly. And I tell you what I did like about it. It was, you quoted 15 minutes, and it did take 15 minutes. And I think that's the most important part, is because some people, when they cook, they think, oh, Jesus, I've got to go in the kitchen. It's going to take me hours. But that just goes to show that you can make a nice, healthy meal within 15 minutes. So well done, you. Thank you for doing that, because thank you for being game on doing that, because it's not everyone's cup of tea. But before we open up the conversation to the ladies, there were a couple of things that we were discussing in the break that we want to talk about. And one of them is hydration, because we talked a lot about food, but we didn't talk about the H2O and why it's so important. Caroline, why is water so important to us?
So, interesting little fact here. I think it's interesting. Everyone else will be like, what? You can actually survive far longer without food than you can with fluid, which demonstrates how important fluid is, particularly water. And it's really important to make sure that we're sufficiently hydrated, because that can help us if we're struggling with concentration or poor concentration, struggling with brain fog, and particularly going through menopause. If you're experiencing maybe significant hot flushes, night sweats, some women find that their perception or thirst perception starts to change as well, and they don't necessarily recognise that they're thirsty until they're thirsty. So it's really important we try and get into a good habit of making sure we're having adequate amounts of fluid throughout the day. And when I say adequate, we're looking for around 2.5 litres per day. And that can be from a mix of different drinks. Water is the ideal because it's readily available. You know, you can put it in your water bottle and there's no excuse. You can carry that around with you. You can have it on your desk. You don't need to break off from what you're doing. It doesn't go cold, anything like that. Realistically, though, what we tend to find is that a lot of women struggle to drink just plain water on its own. So that's where you just need to then be creative and think about maybe flavouring it. So don't be afraid of things like, added sugar squashes, a little bit of that in your water. If that means that you're going to drink a lot more and be sufficiently hydrated, is far better than going, well, I'm not going to have anything in my water and then trying but failing to drink enough.
Definitely.
You could even, if you were feeling fancy, this tends to appeal more in the summer months, you could put in like chopped fruit. So things like some lemon, cucumber and lime, cucumber and mint, like real combination. You can have a play around with it. And then, get yourself a nice glass as well, like pour it into a nice glass. Have a nice little tumbler that is your fancy water tumbler. That's not just your bog standard one out of the kitchen cupboard. Can just make it feel a little bit more exciting than it is.
Yeah.
I know it's only water, but it's just to make that experience a little bit more.
I've been drinking water since I was in my 20s, because I'm not a tea or coffee. I never have. And back then people used to think I was weird. But I can tell you now, I've always drunk lots of water. But if I don't drink enough in a day, my urine can be a little bit uncomfortable. And that is since I've gone in my post. So I am so much, always, like I said, I've always drunk maybe nearly 3 litres a day. But I've always, not had that sensation. But that is a new thing. So ladies, if if you don't want the old C word down below, the cystitis is what I'm saying about, nothing else.
And it's brutal.
It's not nice. That is why, another reason why you must drink, because you've got to look after your bladder. And also, and I just want to throw a big tip out here, because if women are starting to drink a lot of water, you've got to remember that if you've not done that before, you've got to start to retrain your bladder. So, don't worry if you start rushing to the loo a bit more. It's just because your body's not used to that volume. So maybe we can do it gradually rather than just whole hog, down in it.
Like and that. I think adding on to that point, for any woman listening thinking, I definitely don't drink 2 litres right tomorrow, but nail 2 litres, don't set yourself that goal, because you're setting yourself up to fail, because you're not going to go from one day not drinking enough to then suddenly the next day nailing it, because if you were, you'd already have nailed that habit. So it might be that your first mission is to start having, every time you make yourself a tea or coffee, to also get yourself a glass of water to go alongside it. And then once that becomes a habit, then think about, right, well, actually, maybe I'm going to aim for at least this a day and build it up gradually. Whereas if we're really going hard and heavy, we just tend to fail because we've gone in too unachievable. Baby steps all the way, because you're more likely to then succeed in the long term. And that's what it's all about. It's about the long term.
It's all about baby
doing
steps.
Something for 2 weeks and being like, oh yeah, I now drink 2 litres of water, but then after that you don't.
Definitely. Okay, so the other thing we were talking about was that, yes, nutrition is really good, but if you are someone that is looking to kind of get healthier in the long run, then there are lifestyle changes that go hand in hand with nutrition. So what are we talking about here, Caroline?
So the 4 kind of pillars I refer to when I look at menopause, nutrition and lifestyle on a whole. Obviously, you've got nutrition, and then the other 3 are sleep, stress, and exercise. Sleep, obviously, for a lot of women during menopause can be really disrupted. So it's a bit of a 2-way relationship. Is both sleep and stress. But it's about making sure that you're hydrating well, nourishing your body well, not eating too late before you go to bed, or maybe having lots of caffeinated drinks that then are going to impact negatively on your sleep. But also being kind to yourself, and that if you have had a bad sleep, just trying to look after yourself the next morning as best as you can. And the best way that I can explain this is, think about if you were looking after a child and they got up in the morning, and I say it to my son and he's like, I'm too tired. I'm like, let's get up and have some breakfast because that'll give you some energy for the day. We need to tell ourselves out that message to ourselves, because there's other voice in our head will be saying, oh, I'm too tired, I'll just have that coffee and I'll get going at some point in the day, and it just all goes to pot. So sometimes just thinking about what advice would we give to someone else, and actually
Yes.
impose that on ourselves.
I like that.
Um,
That's really useful. Really like
yeah,
that.
because it is really hard when you've had a bad night's sleep, if you've been up for several hours and then only just fallen asleep and then your alarm's going off.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. That's something I've really, really struggled with, and I'm not immune to, because I'm, a dietitian. It's about just knowing what's the best decision that I can make and that I'm going to be grateful for in a few
Yeah.
hours' time, rather than making what seems like the easier decision but's going to completely backfire on me.
Yeah.
And the same with stress. We all lead very, very busy lives, from a work perspective, a lifestyle perspective, and it's sometimes just looking and being really honest with ourselves and looking ahead at the week and thinking, you know what, I want to do really well this week, but I've got so many commitments on. What do I need to do to make sure that I'm going to nourish myself and make the right choices through that week? So if you know that you're going to be getting home late from work several days, what are you going to be having on those days? Is it actually, you've got some leftovers in the freezer that you're going to have as a family, or someone else is going to do the cooking, rather than making that decision when you are getting home, when you're tired, you're stressed, and you're hungry,
Yeah.
you don't make the best decision.
No, we don't we? It's
No,
always the wrong choices, and to be fair, you can't blame yourself for that, because when you come home that late at night, you don't want to be cooking something. You don't want to be thinking about what you have to do. You want something that's there, ready, so that you don't make those wrong choices, right?
exactly, yeah. And then coupled with that, it's thinking about how are you going to manage your stress levels, and looking at what is contributing to that. Is it things that are at home? And obviously some things you have no control over. But the things that you are able to control, or maybe have a conversation with someone about, whether that's your partner, your family members, a friend, your boss at work, to just have people who are on the same page as you, to carry some of that load, um, to get through that period. And then linked with the final pillar of exercise, things like yoga and exercise are really great for helping with stress management as well. It doesn't have to be, you know, going to the gym and really hitting it hard. It could just be going out for a walk.
Yeah, yeah,
I know if I get myself in a bit of a overwhelmed state, the best
yeah.
thing that I can do is go out for a 10 or 15-minute walk.
That's all it can
Even if it's
take
pitch black, I just
sometimes.
walk around the
Yeah,
estate
yeah, yeah.
and I instantly feel so much better, because I've just composed myself. I've got out, got some fresh air. Everything
Mm.
just feels a little bit more manageable. The
Yeah.
stress might still exist, but it's a bit easier to deal with. Obviously, that's not always practical,
No,
but
no, it's
it's
not,
trying to
but
build
it's
things in
good.
that can really help you.
Yeah.
And when I talk about exercise with my ladies, I actually reframe it and talk about movement,
Yes.
because I think if you are a woman who's never really maybe exercised or scared of gyms, just hearing the word, you must do more exercise and you must start lifting
Mm.
weights, which is all we hear about as
Yeah.
well, that can feel really, really
Afraid
scary. You
so,
think,
but
no, I'm not put step foot in a gym. How am I going to start lifting weights? I don't want to look like a
yeah.
bodybuilder, etc., etc. So I think for me, it's about reframing it to movement, and
Yeah.
no matter where your starting point is, whether that is you already do a little bit of exercise and you want to increase that, or actually you do very little. It's what movement can you build into your day,
Yeah.
so you're moving your body. Um, I'm fine On some days at the weekend, I move my body loads, but if I'm at my desk all day on my work days, I'm really sedentary. So I will, as much as possible, if I've not got after school clubs, I'll be doing the walk to school. Little boy will be like, why have we walked? Why are you not in the car? Because mummy needed to move her body and get some fresh
Yeah,
air.
yeah. It's all about movement. And going
Yeah,
back to the stress thing, one thing I've found that I've that's worked for me sometimes is just go from one room to the other. Just take you out of that situation. So if you feel stressful in the living room, just get up
yeah,
and go and sit in the kitchen. And
yeah.
sometimes just that environmental change can help. Okay, are you ready to be fed to the wolves?
I'm ready and raring. I think they're going to be nice to me.
Oh, I think they're going to be okay. They've already, Carol's already unmuted. She's
Oh
like,
gosh. Here we go.
I'm ready. Carol, do you want to let us see you? Here she is. She's San Francisco. If only.
Hi,
If,
ladies.
if only. You're
Oh,
not in
Looking
San
very
Francisco
relaxed
though, are
there.
you?
It's good to see.
This is where our menopause ladies are going to ask some questions. So Carol's going to start off first. Over to you, Carol. Go for it.
I've got a lot of confessions to do, so I
It's
don't know
not
about so much.
church. It's not
I
church,
don't,
Carol.
Is this therapy?
You're not a
I
priest.
don't know how much questions I've got for Caroline, but when Caroline was talking about portion controls on on your plate and everything else, I was cooking my dinner, and then she said, make sure you put all your proteins and your vegetables and all that. So I did a salad, and the salad was for two people. So Caroline said, salads and your vegetables on your plate first. So I did that. And then I did a small jacket potato. So I cut the jacket in half and I put that. And I did some fish and I put a little portion of that. But when I looked at my plate, I'd taken more than half the salad. So the boy has only got a quarter of the salad because I put it all on my plate. But I must admit, I feel full.
Yeah. And that's it. It's a perception thing because you look at your plate and you think, oh, it's not going to fill me up. I need some more. But
Yeah.
actually, you need to trust the process because actually, when you get that balance right, it delivers what it needs to and you're going to feel full.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, thank you for that, Caroline.
I'm
Going
glad it
forward,
worked.
it works. I'm a diabetic. So I've been a diabetic for comfortably about 30 years. I have got the most horrendous habits. The first one that you talked about was in regards to not eating breakfast and all that. For
Mhm.
years, I haven't eaten breakfast, but I'm on metformin because that's where they kind of start you off and everything else. And one of the things about metformin is it's a suppressor. In terms of controlling the diabetes, it does work. In terms of helping to reduce weight, it does work. But one of the other things that it does suppress your appetite. And I've gone a long time before I discovered that was one of my failings. So I wouldn't have a meal. I could easily comfortably get up from 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I don't eat until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And by the time I've done that, the brain is telling me that I'm not hungry for an evening meal until about 8, 9 o'clock. So that I've had to kind of physically and mentally adjust my mind to. So, because I'm now going through the menopause and everything
Mhm.
else, and I've had to physically change that dynamics and everything else, but I'm still struggling with it.
Okay. So I think there's a few things there that we need to unpick. I think the fact that you maybe don't have breakfast and then you're eating later and then later. For some people, that cannot be a problem
Okay.
because if you're making the right choices and eating the right quantities and the right proportions at those meal times and then not snacking in between or making wrong food choices or eating the foods that aren't going to support your blood sugar levels ultimately, then it is a problem. But actually, if that's not happening, maybe it's about working with your body, but then still making sure that you are getting all the good nutrients in to still optimize your overall health. One of the things that we sometimes see when women are struggling with their eating pattern because they've never maybe eaten breakfast and they've got this new, it's not their norm, that their new norm, it's their norm. It's about actually looking at what they're maybe are not getting in their diet. Because if you're potentially, one of the risks that can occur is that you can end up then undernourishing. You might be getting all the calories in and actually your weight might be staying the same, or you might still be gaining weight, but you might not be getting all the goodness in that's going to support overall health. So sometimes it's looking at it from that perspective. And then it's about trying to find different tricks. And this is where it becomes really difficult because it's really an individual thing. So it might be, well, yes, I can't manage something first thing in the morning, but could I have something at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? But if you're going to try that, then be thinking about what are you going to do for the rest of your day, because you might find that you have something at, say, 10 or 11 o'clock, but then you're still not hungry at 2 o'clock. So what you would normally have at 2 o'clock isn't going to work. So sometimes it's a little bit, it feels hard work. And this is where obviously it's easier when you work with someone on a one-to-one basis because you can unravel everything, but you can plan it out and think about, right, well, I'm going to try that and see if that works. It could also be looking at what you are choosing. So, you know, in the UK, most people will think about breakfast being something like some cereal, some porridge, some toast. Or for you, does it actually need to be a savoury breakfast rather than not a sweet breakfast, but those examples that I gave, to see if actually that works better for you as well.
I
So
have to say,
sometimes it's very much about trial and error
yeah,
rather than going, well, I need to do this, so I'm just going to force myself to do this, because actually by trial and error, you're more likely to get some kind of insight into what works best for you, so then that can become a sustainable habit rather than forcing something and only being able to sustain it for a couple of weeks because then life gets in the way.
yeah, yeah. I've set myself two goals. So by 11 o'clock, I will eat a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
So and it tends to be an apple, an orange, or a pear. And then I must eat something before 3 o'clock, because then it throws out dinner altogether. And I will sit comfortably. If I eat after 3 o'clock, to me, that is the afternoon lunch and that's dinner. And I won't be hungry again. So I must eat before 3. And I've set that as a goal. For some funny reason, I cannot drink water during the day. But when I get home at 6 o'clock, I'm as thirsty as anything. So I'm drinking water. So then what's the reactive thing? At night, I'm getting up.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. The new thing for me is to try and drink some water during the day.
So
You
I've
know,
got a question back for you on both those goals. How are you making those happen? Are you just saying to yourself, I'm going to do this by 11 o'clock, I'm going to do this? Or are you making steps to make sure it happens? Because sometimes that's where there can be a gap between setting these goals and feeling and getting success, or feeling like you've failed at them. Because if you don't then put the steps in place to support that goal, a thought isn't an action, if that makes sense.
so now it's more of a thing that I do because
Good.
I enjoy it, but it's
Because
on
you're
my
enjoying
own.
it, yeah.
I don't take it away. And then for the lunch, I'm conscious that in our world, lunch has to be done by 2. So even if I am going out, just going out at 2, at least when I'm in the building, it works. So when I'm
Yeah,
at work, it works. When I'm at home, it's a struggle.
yeah. So that might be where you want to put like a reminder on your phone. And it sounds really silly, doesn't it, to put a reminder in to like tell myself to eat, but he had it. I know women would sometimes say to me, but surely I'm a grown adult, I shouldn't need to do that. But what you're trying to do is form a new habit. And as humans, we choose the path to least resistance. And forming a new habit isn't the path to least resistance. It's the hardest thing to do. So it's about looking at putting those tools in place to make it happen. So like a timer, just to give you that prompt. And some days you'll listen to that prompt and that timer and you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Other days you'll be like, sod that. I've got better things to do with my time. I'm not in the mood. I don't want to do it. That doesn't matter. But at least it's there just to give you that reminder, just whilst you're embedding those new habits. Because what we don't want to get to is the point where you feel like you're failing and that you're doing something wrong. And that's not because of anything that you've done wrong. It's just we've missed that step of putting the action steps in place to make that goal come true.
Come through. Yeah. Yeah.
I got a thumbs up from Miss San Francisco there. So one of the questions was, the hardest part of eating for me is breakfast. I can't seem to get timing right. Sometimes I'm not hungry until 12 till 1 p.m. How long after waking should I leave it to eat, e.g. 1 hour, 2 hours, or does it really matter?
So very similar to what we've been talking about with Carol, I think it is about understanding what implications it's having on the rest of your day. So if you're finding that you're not hungry, so you don't have your breakfast, and then you're making bad choices for the rest of the day, then I think for me it means that something has to change to try and correct what's happening later on in the day, if that makes sense. And there is not necessarily any cut-off. It's finding something that maybe you can build into a routine. So when it comes to making changes, it's a lot around like your behaviours and your habits, because we all know what we should be doing. It's actually implementing that's the hardest thing. So sometimes it's about maybe putting that boundary in place, and not a rule, but a boundary in place to say, I'm going to start having something to eat within an hour of waking, rather than saying, I'm going to have my breakfast at 8 o'clock every day, because that might only work 5 days of the week, because you're up and ready at 8 o'clock to have breakfast, or have been up a little while to then feel ready to have something. But then at the weekend, you might have a lovely lie-in and might not get up till 8 o'clock. And then what do you do then? You're already on the back foot. So sometimes it's just around thinking about, those boundaries to help you be consistent with that new habit, because that's the biggest thing that I see in terms of women feeling like they're not seeing the results, and usually it's just because of lack of consistency, and consistency is what builds habits as well. Perfection doesn't build habits.
It's about that word again, perfection, isn't it? That comes a lot for women.
Exactly.
It was also, she asked, is it if you're trying to work out what your body needs, is it a good idea to try and get blood tests to help get a benchmark, like a starting point? What do you think?
So blood tests are useful in some situations. If you're purely thinking from a nutrition perspective, to wonder if you've got any deficiencies that you need to correct, there are certain blood tests that a GP, for example, will do on the NHS that will give you some really clear answers to the examples being vitamin D, iron levels, and your hemoglobin levels to do with your blood, your B12 levels, your folate levels. They're all routine bloods that a GP can do. Not necessarily will all GPs now test vitamin D, because there is the belief that actually most people in the UK are vitamin D deficient, so we should be supplementing through the winter months to correct that. With other vitamins and minerals, you can pay to have private tests. But I would say, unless your diet is really, really severely restricted, then you're probably wasting your money. And actually, that money would be far better spent on optimizing your diet and funneling it into that route to make sure that then actually you are nourishing your body, and then identifying, right, actually maybe I'm eating better than apps, and obviously that's something that I help women to identify. But if you're ever unsure, that's where you can be thinking, do I need to then maybe thinking about a supplement? But I always want women to be thinking about food first rather than automatically assuming that your body's going to be low in certain vitamins and minerals. So then I must supplement. Let's always focus on food first and for a good period of time anyway. So it's again looking at the bigger picture and thinking, are our habits just something that is a relatively new habit? Is it something that I've been doing for a long time that's maybe leading to a poor diet? And am I really, 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 really restricting any food group?
Can I
They're your
just
big red flags, I would say.
I'll just talk about these tests, because there are some tests that you can actually have, and they are a bit cowboyish. So you can go into some pharmacies and they will check your cholesterol, but it's not the overall cholesterol. It's just like one number. And as we both know, there's lots more to just one basic number in cholesterol. So if you are going to go and get tested, then I would definitely suggest, and I'm sure Caroline will back me up on this, to research what it is that you're going to get tested, rather than waste your money on something where you can get an overall proper results. Would you agree, Caroline?
Completely agree, yeah. And I think also with the rise now in companies that do offer testing for a whole array of different things, you can now get a lot of finger prick testing. They aren't necessarily suitable for testing all blood levels as well. So again, it's all good and well saying, should I get some blood testing? It's understanding why you're doing the blood testing and what you're wanting to find out from that results, because the results or the test results are only going to be as good as what you do with that information.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just thought of something we've not talked about, and I don't think we've got time to cover it today, but I think you're going to have to come back. Can we do one on poo? Because I think,
Yes.
because I tell you,
My favourite topic.
poo is just like, there's so many different types of poo. And for me, it's a big topic, because you don't need a blood test. Sometimes you can look at your poo and it will tell you exactly what's going on with your body. But this is not a 5-minute chat, so let's come back for a poo talk.
No.
You're going to come back for a poo talk? Yeah, let's do poo.
Yeah, up for that.
Carol, have you got any other questions for Caroline?
I don't know if Caroline will be able to kind of respond to this, but the Manjaro.
Yeah.
And I've been put on it for my diabetes. And in terms of my diabetes, it has worked in bringing my blood sugars down, because they were really bad, Caroline. And they've been the best that comfortably in about 10, 15 years. So it works. But I've got other friends that have gone on they're diabetics, and they've been placed on the Manjaro to lose weight, not to really address the diabetes. So in terms of that, I am losing the weight, but nothing rapid like how I see them losing the weight.
Okay.
So is it that they're doing something different than what I'm doing, or is it just dosage? And that's the
Potentially,
biggest.
yeah. So obviously it's hard to answer exactly without knowing the full situation, but essentially these medications and these injections work and have been developed and licensed, I must add, so licensed, i.e. available on prescription, to support people who have diabetes and, coupled with that, need to lose weight. So we're talking primarily type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is largely correlated with carrying excess weight, and we know that we can put people into remission with their type 2 diabetes by helping them to lose weight, which then helps to bring their blood sugar control under control. So that's why they're licensed to be used, and they work largely on a couple of different factors, but helping to suppress the appetite, which then helps to ultimately reduce your calorie intake, which then can help support weight loss. But there are a few, as with any of these medications, like caveats and nuances to them all, because it's really important that you and making sure that actually, yes, your appetite might be reduced, but then you're still getting in adequate amounts of nutrition to support your overall body functions. So sometimes people might not be seeing the right results if actually they're maybe not potentially eating the right proportions and balance of foods to meet their needs, and their body's still fighting that resistance, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It could be purely a dosing thing as well. And there are a number of different medications and injections that work to support these situations. So it might be that it needs to be a different one. I think the other thing to be mindful of when you're comparing your experience to someone else's experience is also understanding everyone has a different starting point. And one of the major frustrations I see within this space is that a lot of people now can go and buy these weight loss injections,
Yeah.
and you can buy them from off the internet without needing to see anyone. You can put
Yeah.
pictures in to say, yes, this is who I am. But even then, you can put in a false picture, and people can still end up purchasing these medications. And these medications are as only good as everything else that you do around them. So the support that you get with them from a medical, maybe a pharmacy perspective, a nutrition perspective, and even for some individuals, the psychological side of things, because if that's feeding into eating behaviour as well. So I think, yeah, if you're finding that you're not seeing the results compared to other people, I think it's a conversation to have with your medical team to understand actually what's going on, and trying to shut out as much as you can do that comparison, because it might be that their starting point is very different to yours. And so your journey is going to be very different to theirs.
Can I ask one more question, Caroline?
Yeah.
You
You know when
naughty
the doctor
girl, naughty girl.
recommends,
Go on.
you know when the doctor recommends that you go and see a nutritionist, and it's usually just a one-off kind of meeting, and they're not as thoughtful as you've been talking now. They're not as attentive in your individual needs. I've always found it a laborious kind of chore to do, but yet they're very knowledgeable, but I've never felt the benefit of it.
Okay. So I think one of the challenges that exists is that obviously we have the amazing NHS that gives us access to free healthcare, but it is under immense pressure, particularly from chronic conditions, including diabetes. And that means that resources are unfortunately limited. So what we see is a shift more towards like group setting type scenarios. So you do unfortunately sometimes lose some of that personalisation. But ultimately, the information and the advice is still there. If you find that you feel like you're not fulfilled with that, it's then looking for reputable sources of information. And this isn't about me saying, well, just come and see me, because yes, I'm happy to support people and women and with their dietary needs, but I am also very mindful that not everyone is in a position to be able to pay for private healthcare.
Yeah.
Um, so it's looking at some of the charities, for example, are amazing. So from a diabetes perspective, Diabetes UK is
Good.
brilliant.
Yeah, they
Um, and most charities where there is a nutrition element to it will have an in-house either dietitian or nutritionist as part of their team, who are helping to provide education and content through that charity. So like Diabetes UK has loads of recipes on their website. They usually have educational videos, fact sheets and things like that. And I would use that maybe as a starting point. And then maybe it is another conversation back with your doctor to say, these are the problems that I'm having. I've only had this amount of input from a food perspective. What other options are there for me? Because actually it might be that you need to go down a different referral pathway. Because that's the other thing that exists within the NHS is referral pathways and making sure that you're going into the right one to then get the support that you need. And it might be that at the beginning, you might have been classed as a very straightforward case, and actually it's only through time that maybe more complexities have thrown up that actually then you need a slightly different route.
I think Carol is not an easy case.
No.
She's very complex, our Carol. Has that helped
Nothing
you?
wrong with being complex. It just means that you need to find the right person who can work with you to support all of that.
Yeah.
But I say that's where, as much as you can do, use your voice to have those honest and frank conversations with your healthcare team, because without doing that, they don't know,
Yeah.
so they can't do anything.
Has that
But it
helped
is a
you,
difficult
Carol?
conversation sometimes to
Yeah,
have.
yeah. It's been a really interesting conversation. Thank you, Caroline.
Perfect. Caroline, can you tell me 3 of your top choice supplements that every female, if they're not doing it, should look into it?
Easy. So between the months of October and March, everyone, so this is also helpful for husbands and partners, everyone should be taking a vitamin D supplement. So this is a 10 micrograms, or the equivalent of 400 international units, vitamin D supplement every single day, because we live in the northern hemisphere where it never sunshines, and sunshine is what provides vitamin D to our body, or how our body produces vitamin D, and that's really important to help regulate our calcium levels, which then helps support our bones. So vitamin D is a top one. The next one that can be useful for some women is omega-3, an omega-3 fish oil supplement. Largely, if they don't eat oily fish or plant-based sources of omega-3 like flax seeds and other nuts and seeds, if there's something that you either never eat or eat very erratically and just struggle to even add into your diet, an omega-3 supplement can be really, really useful. Doesn't need to be very, very high strength, but what you want to do is make sure it contains on the packaging something saying EPA and DHA. They are the key components that are going to be helpful. And then the third one, I would say, if you're a lady going through menopause and are eating a plant-based diet predominantly, you'll probably need a vitamin B12 supplement. So this isn't necessarily injections, this is a B12 tablet that you can buy from the chemist, and take one of those daily as well. There's a number of other ones, but they're very much individual.
There's so
situation.
many. There's so many. And I want to say about the vitamin D, that's covered in the joint webinar. I'm going to be talking big time about vitamin D because that is so vital. Okay, so and when we wrap up the podcast, I always ask our guests to give us one piece of advice for our ladies that are listening out there. So we talked a little bit about metabolism, about the menopause. If a lady wants to lose a menopause, what would you say?
Not sexy, but eat regular meals.
Eat regular meals.
Sounds so boring, but go right back to the basics.
Back to the basics.
Good eating habits.
And if there's one thing that you would like to leave our guests with today, and you just want to leave them with one word of wisdom apart from the menopause, what would you say?
I have a few words because, I'm not very succinct sometimes.
Well,
but
okay.
It's not, for me, I want every woman to never feel guilty for the food that they're eating. I want them to be able to enjoy their food. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's just about being consistent. And that consistency is what that looks like for them.
I'm going to give you an applause for that. Thank you very much. So look, we are coming to the end now. Caroline is definitely going to come back for the poo chat.
Definitely.
We love a poo chat. There's a lot to talk about poo, trust me. Okay, so thank you very, 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 very much, Caroline, for coming on today. Have you enjoyed it?
I have had a blast. Thank you so much for inviting me on and allowing me to chatter away about everything nutrition, which is what I love.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure having you on, and thank you for the recipe. I didn't mention, if you do want to make the recipe, it's on our YouTube channel. That will drop with episode 2. So this episode that you're listening to now, you'll be able to watch me making it. Actually, what you're gonna see is me doing the salmon, because I don't think I recorded the quinoa I'm making, but there's a picture of the final product. But it's 15 minutes, easy to cook. So that's on the YouTube channel. And if you do want to get in contact with Caroline, all of her details will be on the YouTube, on the Buzzsprout, on the socials. There is a way. Caroline, if anyone wants to book a session with you, is there a discount at all?
There is, yeah. So I have a specific menopause program called Nourish and Thrive, and I'm happy to offer 20% discount on anyone who wants to sign up to that program. There is a payment plan available, and if anyone is interested, they can just book a free chat with me, a free 20-minute chat, and we can have a chat to see whether it's the right fit for you.
That's amazing. 20%.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. That's incredible. That's brilliant. There you go, ladies. So what more can you ask? So it's been an incredible experience today to listen to everything about nutrition. Ladies, we've got to look after ourselves in the menopause, postmenopause, perimenopause, wherever you are. No one else can do it but yourself. But there is information that we're coming to you, which is going to keep it nice and simple, so you don't have to keep listening to all the noise that's out there. So if you do want to be a guest on our podcast, obviously no experience needed, no pun there, because you just need to be able to talk menopause. That's it. And if you're someone that's an expert in something and you want to come on like Caroline, then get in touch. Okay, so remember to like, rate and subscribe, and join any of the platforms to let us know we are doing a good job. There's now a monetisation button, as we're now non-profit, so every little bit helps. And I just want to say we're on a break. Okay, we've got a 2-week break now coming up. So there'll be podcasts coming back from the 24th of March. That's when we continue again. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really hope you've gained something from listening today. If you've got one thing, then that's a job done. So before you go, final thought. Menopause sucks, but with friends, it sucks a whole lot less. We'll see you next time. You have a great evening or daytime wherever you are. See you soon. Menopause Dinners is sponsored by Fitness Therapy for You. Information we share on food and supplementation is from our nutritionist today. So normally it's from our own experiences, but it's from the horse's mouth. But if you are suffering from a medical condition, please do get medical advice before trying any supplementation.